There's a murder trial beginning in town. There's a kid who knows crucial information. There are thugs, lawyers, and a killer on the loose. All coming up on this episode of Bookwards. Hi, I'm Sam, an 11-year-old who reads a lot.
And I'm Dana, his mom, who also reads a lot.
Welcome to Bookwards, where we read and discuss the best kids' books. We encourage our listeners to read the book before listening, especially because there are always spoilers in our episodes. To make sure you never miss new episodes and find out what we're reading next, follow us on Instagram and X at BookwardsPod.
So as always, we're going to start the episode with a very quick plot summary of the book. So Theo Boone is a 13-year-old in middle school whose parents are both lawyers, and he spends most of his time hanging around the courthouse. A high-profile murder trial is beginning in town, and Theo becomes involved in it because he learns about a witness that nobody else knows about who actually saw the murder happen and knows who did it. So Theo is pulled into this and has to figure out whether to force this witness to come forward or to let the witness stay in the shadows and the trial to proceed without this crucial information. All right, Sam, let's talk about this book. For starters, what did you think of Theo Boone, the kid lawyer? Did you like Theo?
So I thought Theo was obviously very smart, but I thought sometimes Theo was too smart for his own good. Because he's a 13-year-old kid, right? So he has to, enjoy growing up. He's already focused on getting a job as a lawyer, and he's, a 13-year-old. We see, kids come to him for, information.
And legal help.
Right, legal help.
And he was a little boring of a personality.
Right.
He was super smart and very focused on the law, and he did help out friends with different legal problems that they came into, but he himself, we're used to funny main characters who are more kid-like, and he was just
not
a little bland, in my opinion. Which brings me to talking about the people around him. So we get to know some of the people in Theo's life, some of the side characters, his parents, his uncle, the judge that he really looks up to who's presiding in this murder trial. What do you think?
So I think his parents, we don't get much about his parents at all. We don't get, Mrs. Boone seems pretty nice now. His dad seems strict and all about work.
So what about the uncle, Ike?
I like a little better because you see times of him being mischievous. He's a little funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, why he got in trouble. No one knows that, but
right.
Maybe we'll find out later.
No, that's exact. But by the way, hello, exactly. That was the most intriguing part of any of these side characters is the fact that Ike was disbarred, which means he used to be a practicing lawyer, but it was taken away from him, which means he did something wrong.
But you can't be too surprised because it said he drank a lot. He got into trouble a bunch.
I know, but what? How? You weren't intrigued? You didn't want to know more about what happened in the past that led Ike to be disbarred?
I did, but
and he was estranged from Theo's parents for years, for over a decade. Theo said that since he was alive, he never saw Ike in their house. So for 13 years, Ike lives in the same town, hasn't been in their house.
So it seems Ike is more mad at the dad because it said when the first time Theo went to visit Ike in the book, it said that Ike never mentions Theo's dad. He always asks how Theo's mom is doing, but he never asks about Theo's dad. So obviously, or probably,
presumably,
right, something would happen.
Right, but why don't we?
It came up between his dad and Ike.
I think that was a big opportunity of something, a subplot that would have been really interesting, and we get nothing of it in this book.
So maybe this is trying to So.
Same with April,
book,
by the way.
This book, it seems like it's trying to get us to read book 2 and book 3.
Well, it does a bad job. I'm not interested in reading
that.
Yeah,
I'm not that interested either. But it seems like the point of this book isn't to make it a good book, which is annoying because everyone wants books. So I think that's why they messed up a bit. John Grisham, he should have made this book a lot more compelling, and he should have probably made more. There was 0 plot twists after page 150.
Right. Okay.
After we learned about the witness, there was no plot twists at all.
Totally. So we find out somewhere halfway through the book about the witness, which is Julio's cousin. and
Like,
what he saw, and that
like
was
you-
great.
Like,
and
you
then-
should have saved that till the end, though. Like,
or then
like maybe on the last day of trial, Julio's cousin comes to
the stand,
testifies, or like no, because that would be too much like a movie. How about like Theo decides what to do, but it's the last day and he has to like move quick.
Yeah, wait, I have to get this off my chest because I really need to. In like halfway through, we find out about this witness, and then literally we spend over 100 pages reading about Theo biking around town,
Right.
telling this like the same thing first to Ike, then to his
Ike,
parents, then to the judge, then to
We don't
speaking to Julio twice. It's like how many times we have to
Right,
hear
like-
about this witness and what he saw?
Yeah, like we
50
get
times.
the witness, like
Yeah, we get it.
yeah, like
You ride your bike
come
all
on,
around
just
town
get to
and
the
tell
plot
people.
twist.
Yeah, get
Let's
to
make another plot twist. Make this guy, make the Mr. Duffy. How about I have an idea. Make Mr. Duffy find out that Theo has found out.
something.
And then make like scenes of like Mr. Duffy versus Theo. Like,
Yeah, well,
Mr. Duffy comes up to Theo and he's like, "Don't."
And so
bang."
that's what I was waiting for with that guy Omar Cheap. So that guy Omar
Right,
Cheap
like,
is
nothing
supposed to
happens.
be he's supposed to be the villain
He
here,
doesn't do
but
anything.
he doesn't do anything. I don't even know if he's scary or not. We don't even see him being scary. We see him watching Boone and Boone Law Firm where they're all meeting with Judge Gantry. So he knows that Theo is going to be is responsible for whatever happens the next day in court, which was plot twist. Spoiler alert. Stop listening if you didn't read the book and want to. Which was Judge Gantry declaring a mistrial because there's a witness out. He didn't say why, but it's because there's a witness out there who knows something super important. But Omar Cheap, the villain, presumably the villain, or Pete Duffy, I guess, could also be the villain. We'll talk about him in a minute. But Omar Cheap, I was waiting for him to beat Theo up or follow him
do
around,
something.
threaten him, something.
Do something,
We got nothing
yeah.
from that guy.
Omar Cheap was not like April. We got nothing on April at all.
Nothing on April.
Nothing on April.
So April was a very intriguing character to me. She's got something crazy going on with her parents where they're getting divorced, and that's terrible.
So John
But she
Grisham
doesn't want
could
to
have
live with either of them. So she obviously is going through a lot of trauma with each of her
And
parents.
John Grisham could have made like, how about there's a scene or two where Theo goes to the court, where April like he sneaks away in school in the middle of the day and goes to the court and like supports April on
and where we
helps
hear
April.
more about what's going on
Right,
with her.
like we help hear more.
We don't even hear her talk at all. We barely hear her talk. We see some
So
DMs.
I
from
do
her,
want to
some
say
messages.
about that though. At the back of the book,
Yeah.
it has like the first 2 pages from book 2,
I know. I knew you were going to say this.
and April gets like kidnapped. So maybe book 2 is all about April and
So
her problem, and book 1 is about the murder trial. But the problem with that argument is that the murder trial didn't end. Like the murder trial, like it never finished the murder trial.
So we will go on record as saying that we know that some of these unsatisfying characters and plot lines will be continued in future books. This is a series.
We haven't read the future
But
books.
we haven't read. But you gotta give us more.
Yes,
If you
yeah.
want us to move on to
Yeah.
book 2 and book 3,
Like,
but even book
personally,
2.
I'm not gonna read book 2.
Same.
Like,
You gotta give us more.
I'm moving on.
We read a lot of series, the two of us. Like, I'm
I can move
almost
on.
always game for
Yeah,
book
I
2.
can move on.
There wasn't enough here to get me to book 2. Yeah, I'm intrigued by what's going on with April, and I also saw those 2 pages, and I know the next book is all about April,
Also,
but I just can't do it.
also too much Mr. Mount. Like I don't like who's Mr. Mount?
The teacher?
Yeah, like why do I need so much of him?
We don't need so much of him. How many? We heard him 6 times. Theo comes into
Yeah.
class, and Mr. Mount is like, Theo, give us an update on the trial.
Yeah, we just like heard the update on the
Yeah,
trial.
we've been
Like,
reading
we
the
don't-
update 20
yeah,
times.
Yeah, like we don't need it again.
Right, we don't need it again.
And then there are what we've been talking about all the bad parts of the book. Couple good parts, couple
nice.
silver linings.
Great, go.
So I liked the part where Theo had his own firm, where like kids would come up to him and he would go to court with them. Like he went to court with that girl Haley.
Yeah, Animal Court.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I think he's too smart for his own good, he's really pursuing his dream and he's becoming a lawyer at 13 years old. So that's pretty cool.
That was cool. I like the part where he went around the courthouse. This was in the beginning, and he knew a lot of the judges, and he knew the secretaries, and he kind of knew everything that was going on. And he helped a few friends. He helped one friend whose parents, their house was going into foreclosure, which means
Right.
you can't make your mortgage payments, then the bank could take away your house. And he actually helps that friend by saying that if you file for bankruptcy, your house doesn't go into foreclosure. Which, by the way, I am a lawyer, and I learned some legal stuff from this book. So I do like books where I have fun reading them, but also learn stuff personally. And I did learn stuff from this book. Getting back to the main plot, which is the Duffy murder trial, we have this kid, Julio, who Theo is tutoring. His mom, they are immigrants from El Salvador. Yeah. And they live in a shelter, and Theo is tutoring them in English. And it's Julio's cousin, Bobby, who's an illegal immigrant who works at the golf course, who actually is the witness.
I think they should have switched the characters of Bobby and Julio.
Okay.
Like, I think Julio should have been the one who saw this, because he was the more interesting one.
Yeah, but the reason Bobby doesn't want to come forward is because he's illegal.
But let's think of it. What if John Grisham made it so that if Julio went forward, they would want to know why he saw this, and what if he saw this because he was working, and because he was young, they'll ask, why are you working at, 13 years old? And he won't be able to give the answer, because what if he's working to get Bobby, food and materials?
Well, that's just a different plot.
It is,
but why?
A little more compelling.
Maybe. I mean, I actually thought this was compelling. Of all the reasons you could give for not wanting to come forward, I mean, honestly, I'd be scared if I saw a murder and how I had to come forward and testify. It's scary, but I totally get why Bobby doesn't want to come forward. So that made a lot of sense to me. But I do think his story is very compelling. It would be. The little we know of it, we basically get nothing. But the little we know of it is that he's in this country illegally. He's working at a golf course. He's pretty young. He's very scared. And he's very close with his family and very homesick. But he's here to earn money so that he can send back to them. And that's very compelling and very sympathetic, and I would be interested in reading more about that.
I was wondering, is it true that in the middle of a case, it's said in the middle of the case, when they went out for recess,
mm-hmm.
Mr. Nance and Clifford Nance and Jack Hogan got together friends and went to go do something.
Yeah. So that's the defense lawyer and the prosecutor.
Yeah, so true? Does that actually happen?
I don't think in the middle of a high-profile murder trial, but this is in a small town. So in a small town, these people know each other really well and conduct a lot of business, usually against each other in opposition. But in New York City where we live, I know a lot of lawyers who have faced each other on different sides of multi-million-dollar disputes and are actually friends. Sometimes they are on the same side of a case. Sometimes they're on opposite sides of a case. I think it's less common for prosecutors and defense lawyers to be friends, but maybe.
So now I want to talk a little about Judge Gantry a little more.
Okay.
What do you think about Judge Gantry?
I actually really liked his character. There's a judge I worked for that I'm super close to who he reminded me of, just this older, very wise, very established, very kind, but extremely knowledgeable judge. And I thought he's a great character, but again, we got very little of him. Not nearly enough.
Well, I actually think that's not true. I think we got more of Judge Gantry than we got of most of the other side characters.
True.
He was definitely him and Ike were probably the two main side characters that we see the most in book one, at least.
Yeah.
It seems maybe we're going to get less of him, because it seems with the April kidnapping. So the murder trial's not over. I think he's probably going to finish the trial. Well,
he's presiding over the trial, so yeah.
So I think that means also Bobby's going to be in the next couple
we'll
months.
get more of all these characters. But we didn't get enough to make us really long to read the next few books. What I will say about the judge, you're right, we did get more of him than other characters, and I did really like him. I do think that the ending, which was really his show, right? Finally, they confess to him, towards the end of the book, that there's this witness out there. They tell him about Bobby, And then we get basically 2 pages of what he actually does, which is he goes in and declares a mistrial, which is what Theo had been talking about with Ike, 100 pages earlier. Like that could be what happens.
Right. So basically, we read 250 pages for Judge Gantry to call mistrial.
Yeah, to call a mistrial. It was very anticlimactic ending. You had the whole stage was set for a very exciting ending.
Good ending.
You had
so basically
you have a packed courtroom. You have Judge Gantry, who is a good character, presiding, who's wise and can do something interesting. You have Omar Cheap, who's supposed to be scary, is in there. You have Pete Duffy, the murderer, is in there. You have the lawyers. The scene is set for drama, high drama, and instead you just have Judge Gantry being like, "I'm not saying why, but I'm declaring a mistrial. Bye," and that's it. And then the next page, the book was done. And now it's time to book in a rating. We each rate the book on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we combine both of our ratings for the book's final score. So, Sam, how do you rate the book?
6.8. 6.8. It wasn't great. It's going to be my lowest rating by far out of all the books.
I still think that's generous. I'm going to give it a 5.1.
Generous. Wow, that's low.
Bringing the combined score to 11.9, which does put this book in last place of the books that we've read.
And now it's time for the Bookwords Book Awards, where we keep a running tally of the books with the best main characters, coolest supporting characters, most awesome settings, craziest plot twists, and of course, most villainous villains. Best main character. Where does Theo Boone go?
So interestingly, we have to rank Theo against 4 other 13-year-old boys that we've read from the first 4 books. And I would actually put Theo in last place because from Theo, I think we only get him thinking about this case. It would be nice or legal stuff. We don't really get him as a kid. We don't get him thinking about family stuff or friends, or we don't get that much from him. So I like Theo. I think he's a good kid, but the other minds that we were inside, like Ben Ripley's from Spy School,
more character,
or Stanley Yelnats, it's just a more interesting place to be, more humorous, etc. All right, best supporting character. There's no clear number 2 in this book, so who are we going to go with? Ike?
Ike, maybe Judge Gantry, but I'd go with Ike. I think Ike's probably the main supporting character because we see him the most.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so where do we rank
Not April, not yet. Maybe later. If you're doing book 5, maybe April, but not April yet.
No, we don't know much about her at all. So Ike Boone, where does he go?
Probably over 0 in Brooklyn, so I'm going to put him at 3.
Okay, 3rd place
for
Ike Boone.
That's good.
Okay.
I think he's not even close. The thing is with Ike, he's not even close to the 2nd and 1st spot. Annabeth and Erica Hale are in the league of their own.
Yes, that's from Percy Jackson and Spy School.
And then there's Ike, Brooklyn, and 0 who are all I think close together. But I think I like Ike a little better than I like Brooklyn and 0.
Okay, fair. Brooklyn's from Unplugged and 0's from Holes. And I'm comfortable with that ranking. Okay, the best setting. In this case, this is the town of Strattenburg.
Yep, this is going in 5th. And it's not even getting close to 4th.
Yeah, we've got Camp Green Lake and Holes. We've got the Oasis and Unplugged. Percy Jackson, we talked in our last episode about how New York City became a major central component of the book. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, Strattenburg does nothing.
Okay.
You could have named
Pleasantville.
Or Dogville.
Legal Town or whatever. Or Dogville. Whatever, just a random town name.
Right.
Okay, best plot twist.
There's a witness to the murder is probably the best plot twist from Kid Lawyer.
So I thought that this was actually done very well. Whenever we get this plot twist, which is when
would have been better. It might have actually, if this was done at the end of the book, this could have maybe taken the top spot, but I don't think it's at the top spot yet. No.
No, it's number 2. We're going to put this at number 2. But I think the book did well. When Julio surfaces with his cousin who saw the murder, I was glued to the book for that piece of it. That was a great plot twist. After that,
you see the other 4 plot twists that we did. Mm-hmm. They're all at the end of the book. This one was in the middle.
Yes. Which is an important lesson for authors with pacing. If you're going to reveal something major in the middle of the book, then you got to have more to back it up after that.
You got to have more, and you got to have another, plot twist that happens at the end.
Yeah. But this was a good plot twist.
Anyway.
We give it credit. Number 2. Okay, best villain. I'm assuming the villain in this book is
Mr. Duffy.
Mr. Duffy, who did murder his wife.
Mr. Duffy's going at number 4. I think that's, like, easy.
Yeah.
He's not better than the Warden, Ivory, or Murray.
From Holes Unplugged and Spicewell.
Like, is Garrus even a villain? Like, we discussed that last episode. Like, not really.
That's from Percy Jackson, everyone.
Right. Mr. Duffy's clear-cut number 4, I think.
Yeah, what I would say is Mr. Duffy's crime is definitely very serious. He committed a murder of his own wife, but we don't get to know him at all. And he doesn't threaten our main character. He doesn't threaten our main character. We don't
like
find...
the other 4, we all get to, not Garrus, but the other 3 that are on top of him, we all get to know a little more. On our next episode, we will be reading Impossible Creatures by Catherine Rundle.
Currently found in the window of every Barnes & Nobles. So go out and get it and read with us. If you're enjoying the discussion and you read with us often, don't forget to follow us at Bookwards Pod on Instagram and X to stay updated and share your thoughts on the books and what we should read next.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bookwards.